So the Jazz closed it. There's not really a better way of placing it, I suppose. Um, Definitely was a bit unexpected, but it was definitely nice to see. Um, 105, 103 over the Boston Celtics. We're 3-4. We dropped them down to 3-5. Let me get this working. Yeah, there we go. All right, so we had Lowry with 29 and 2 in his 37 minutes. Taylor Hendricks had a really rough shooting night. I want to say he was like 1 of 5 overall shooting and played 1350. It was the polar opposite of the game that he had previously, put mildly. Nurkic with the go-ahead rebound, offensive rebound, and put back to put us up because the Celtics, I believe it was off of free throws, tied the game at 103, come back down the court. Keontae drives right side, a little bit of a fader, uh, glass, rim, too much rim goes off, you know. And shout out to Nurkic because he closed it 11-11-4, right after his performance last game. Definitely a stark contrast, and he was the reason why we were able to win this one. So you got to appreciate that greatness. Keontae George, of course, 31, 5, and 4. I mean, it just doesn't really get much better than that for him. Obviously, the assists can always be higher, and I don't remember what his turnovers were, but I'm going to check that in a second. But 31-point game and an efficient 31-point game, especially getting to the free throw line the way that he did. I know he shot above 80% from the free throw line. I want to say he shot 13 or 14 attempts. So, I mean, that's just one of those things you got to greatly love about him. Then, of course, you had the likes of Kyle Filipowski filling it up, and he kind of just really thrived when he was in the game, put mildly. Everything that Taylor Hendricks wasn't, he was in this one. 13 and 8, very efficient on the floor. Ace Bailey, 18 minutes of action again, just shy of that 20, like we've been seeing, and not really much to glean from that part. Elijah Harkless somehow squeezed out 20 minutes of action, 3, 1, and 2. Walter Clayton Jr., 7, 3, and 6. It was a decent day for him. And then Kevin Love was pretty solid in his ones. It was good, Jeff. His 5, 7, and 3. Jaylen Brown, 36. Wow. Yeah. Peyton Pritchard. Derek White did eclipse 10 points. I was about to say, Derek White has been mediocre at best. 8 and 9 for Nehemiah Queta. Josh Minot, 2, 6, and 2. Chris Boucher. I forgot they still had. Yeah, Xavier Tillman got 6 minutes of action. Sam Hauser, Anthony Simons, 15, 1, and 2. Yeah. Was good, Tatum. Yeah, this was a game, put mildly. Lowry and his, 7 of 17, not great, 2 of 6. In the first half, he definitely was struggling a little bit. Second half, he got it going a little bit. He was definitely more efficient. Overall, those 9 rebounds came up clutch, and both of his assists came in the second half. But those 4 turnovers, which are largely uncharacteristic of him, just really makes sense. Why things were kind of ugly out there. But yeah, Taylor had a rough night. That box score put -15 in just 14 minutes of action tells you a lot of things, right? 1 of 5, 0 of 1 from 3-point range. He did have 3 boards and an assist and a turnover, but just bad for business. 5 of 12 for Nurkic. Didn't hit his threes. 1 of 2 from the free throw line, but those 11 rebounds came in clutch. And before that offensive rebound, he still had 10. Right? He had 3 offensive, 7 defensive. 4 assists were important. Block. He did have 3 turnovers, which is high still considering him, but he played 30 minutes, so we kind of just let it slide a little bit. Well, the Trailblazers are one of those teams where we're tanking. Remember, we're tanking. I was surprised that we won this one. When it started going down to the wire and the Celtics started executing and in many ways out executing us. Let me see game charts. No, that's not what I'm looking for. Though that is good to see. Where is it? Yeah. Uh they out executed us in the first half, right? Down 4, then down 10 going into halftime. Obviously, the third quarter was really big for us, and that was just enough for us to hang on in the fourth, because they were not going to go quietly, and they really locked in there, particularly in the fourth. But I thought we were going to lose this one. I thought this was a lock for a loss. And one of the reasons why I did was sheerly, obviously, I'm not a big Jalen Brown as a number one kind of guy believer. I don't think he's that nice. Jason Tatum, I knew the Celtics in my head. The Celtics were kind of like the what do you call them? The Celtics are kind of like the Thunder in the way their roster is constructed, but at the same time, they're a little bit weaker. And I'm realizing just how actually weak they are because it was really Jason Tatum and then some guys. Because without Jason Tatum, this team just doesn't really work. So I guess, you know, obviously they're going to work some things out, and Derek White should not. I don't know what this is. This is not Derek White. This is not the Derek White that I remember in the playoffs last year, right? Peyton Pritchard has been Peyton Pritchard. He's been one of the few guys that like actually executes. You sit there and you watch him play, and it's like he's not bad, but he's not a top 15 center in the league, right? Josh, not a starting caliber guy at the forward spot, right? You got Jalen Brown doing Jalen Brown things, and to his I was about to say to his credit, he shot well tonight, and then I saw that 0 of 9 from 3. That's egregious. Holy shit. Yeah, bro, at some point you just gotta put the ball down, gang. At some point, you just gotta put the ball down. Y'all were 21%. If you take away his 9 misses, that's 11 of 42. That's still not great, but it's slightly above like 26%. I mean, that's piss poor, but overall he did enough, right? But if you're gonna nitpick the box score, we're gonna sit there and say that's part of the reason why they lost, right? But like I look at these guys, Sam Hauser, the only positive guy off this bench where I say, oh man, he could switch the tide of a game is Anthony Simons. The rest of these guys don't make anybody fearful, right? And in the back of my mind, I'm like, dang, you add because who's inactive? Yeah, Jason Tatum's the only one that really matters like that, right? You add Jason Tatum to this, and this is supposed to be a championship contender. No, it's crazy to think because I guess I have to put more respect on Jason Tatum. I guess he's a little bit better than I thought he was. He matters a little bit more than I originally thought he did. Um, but they were still able to be competent and push it down to the wire. Walter Clayton had a nice shooting night, 3 of 4, 1 of 2 from the 3-point line. 3 boards, 6 assists, 2 steals, no turnovers, right? That's really good. And no personal fouls in his 16 minutes. Really efficient small sample size. I didn't like not seeing Bryce Sensabaugh. He didn't pop up on the injury report, so I'm not really sure what happened right there. Cody Williams didn't play today. They said, it's Harkless time, and sent him out there. So he gave us 1 of 4, 0 of 2. Hit his free throw, 1 board, 2 assists, 1 steal, 3 turnovers, 5 personal fouls. Kind of crazy for a guy that only played almost 21 minutes, but you can't say he wasn't out there hustling and trying because he definitely was. Kevin Love, obviously, his 2 of 3, hit 1 of his 2 threes, 7 boards, 3 assists, only 2 turnovers, and just 16 minutes of action, 17 basically. Quality minutes from him. Flip, like I said, played really, really solid for me, in my opinion. Just shy of 20 minutes, but 4 of 7 from the field, 2 of 3 from 3, 3 of 5 from the free throw line. Would love for that to be 4 of 5, but 3 of 5 isn't atrocious, right? Then 8 boards, obviously 2 of them being offensive, which was big. A block, only 2 turnovers, and 13 points. And he had the highest box score plus minus, so that just goes to show how effective he was in his time on the court, which is the polar opposite of what Taylor Hendricks was, because that just wasn't a really great game by Taylor Hendricks, right? In the short sample size that he had there. Who did I miss out? No, I covered all the yeah. And then Ace Bailey. I mean, there's not really much I can say right here. 2 of 4, 2 boards, 2 turnovers. Like there's not much to analyze. Like the basketball Twitter trend and the TikTok trend where it's like analyze this shit. There's not really much to analyze there. So I'm not even gonna. I'm just not feeling like harping on it. He did have a positive basketball plus minus, so we'll appreciate that, right? But that's about all I got for you. Keontae George, being the most important, the most important piece in the game plan today, right? 9 of 16, 56% from the field, 2 of 5 from 3, right? Keeping those 3-point attempts in control. And he hit one more of them, right? We're used to him hitting 1 of 5, but 2 of 5 looks just so much better. And it's only one shot, but it just looks a lot better on that, right? 56%, 40%, 11 of 13 from the free throw line, 85%. That's a terrific shooting night, right? 5 boards, 4 assists, 1 steal, only 1 turnover. There it is. Okay. I didn't remember him turning the ball over like that, so I didn't know what the number was. But 38 minutes of action, 56% shooting from the field, 85% on double-digit free throw attempts, and only 1 turnover, right? That's a great scoring night. He may not be the most natural passer, but he's showing us that the scoring is there. We just have to be a little patient with him, But he's really he's coming into his own, and the only reason we were able to win this game was because he shot as well as he did today. So credit where credit is due. Keontae George really showed us something today. C, for some odd reason, God bless, 12 shot attempts. I don't know why that happened. 33% from the field, 1 of 8 from 3. That's why I say I don't understand how he got 12 shot attempts because he wasn't hitting his threes at all. It was weird to see, no free throws. Did have 6 boards and an assist, no turnovers. So there was that, but like 1 of 8 from 3-point range is woo-wee. That's not good. And I mean, if we look at his overall numbers for this season, I don't think they would have factored him in yet for him. Yeah, they didn't factor him in yet, but overall, he's 34.5% from 3, right? Last year, in 38 games, shooting 5.5 threes a game, he was 34.5%. Yeah, this is about to dip to 30, right? This is gonna be like 30. He's gonna have to take a couple games and just get that right back up because there's not a few. That's 2.6 attempts though. That's not really great. Yeah, not gonna lie, it's just not my cup of tea. I'll say. Talked about Nurkic already, Taylor, and then Lowry just had a coming back to earth game, obviously being the focal point. The Celtics do really good defensively, right? No matter how bad they struggle to score the basketball, they will get stopped somehow, especially on your main guy. And they did that to Lowry and Keontae. They're not used to dealing with this version of Keontae George, and it showed. Keontae got off, continued to get off, and showed them what he stood for this year. Showed them that he had something to stand for. 29% from 3 on 31 attempts. Definitely not a repeatable offense. We don't want that. But if you're trying to lose a game, yeah, that's a great recipe, right? 45% from the field overall is solid. They were 41%. So defensively, we really did a lot of things right. They did take 5 more shot attempts, but still only hit one less shot. We shot bad from 3, but we made sure they worse. They shot 20 more threes and only hit a lot. Both of us shot about the same from the free throw line. Overall, we took 3 more free throws and hit 2 of them. So there was that. Rebounding battle, we washed them. It wasn't even close. And that just goes back to me saying, like, he's a starting caliber center. He's not a top 15 center in the league. And there's nobody else coming off the bench. Xavier Tillman is not going to make up that disparity right there. So when you out-rebound somebody by 19, and 5 of them are offense, is you're +5 in the offensive rebounding category, you're doing something right, even if you're not hitting your threes like that. Assist-wise, about dead even. Steals, they definitely had our number there. 12 to our 4 to our 2 on blocks, and turnover-wise, they were definitely more efficient. Only 10 turnovers to our 18. But at the end of the day, they shot a lot of threes, and they just couldn't get those threes to fall, and that made the difference. Shout out Jaylen Brown. He definitely helped us there. For sure. And then, of course, Shout out Keontae George. Shout out Nurkic for cleaning up the glass on the last possession and stopping overtime. I thought it was about to be overtime, and it didn't end up that way. So I'm not mad. I'm not mad at all. Let's see, can't take too long. Lest Silver looking at us funny again. That is true. Well, it's like 23 straight road games. Got a sprinkle and a win here or there. Yeah, we're looking really competitive right here. We're going to have a lot of competitive games this year. Need to lower the percentage of zone we play by 65% while we switch every single screen. Pretty sure Elijah Harkless and Taylor Hendricks are the only guys I've seen fight. It has to be by design. Now, I think it's to counter the way that the Celtics play defense, but it might not necessarily be a strength of everybody that we have on the floor. Was good. It was good, Tyson. Yeah. Keontae was on 10 today. Svi is the new Warren Tucker, except instead of barreling into the paint, he barrels to the 3-point line. You know, you're not wrong. You're a lot of things, but you're definitely not wrong about that. Yeah. Key 2 for 5 from 3. He looks like a totally different player. Mm-hmm. Got off on Keontae. Also, I'm pretty sure this is the first year where I think the refs are actually favored us. I don't know. The heck's going on for a Suns game was the only one this season where I thought the refs were for the other team. The refs have been pretty decent, like just across the league as well. I haven't seen too many games where I was just like, yeah, I'm not going to lie. This ref needs to like never call a game, like not even high school ball. He needs to coach little league, like YMCA type hoops. That's the only thing he needs to touch. We haven't had those yet. Now, you could make the argument, there was one game. I can't remember what it was. It was like opening night or the second night. But overall, it's been pretty solid so far, I will say. Crash the boards was a huge difference. Yeah, they just couldn't. They were incapable of out rebounding us. You had Nurkic, and while Nurkic won't be, the top of the line for a lot of different things, and even tonight he didn't really shoot well. This was who he was going against, right? And like I said, no disrespect to him, but he's not a top 15 center in the league. So when you're not a top 15 center in the league, a veteran that's been around the league for a minute and isn't quite on his last legs is going to show you something. Oh, he's 5 years in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, this is year 5. Interesting. Yeah, and this is like his first year actually getting real minutes. That's nasty work. That's not going to work. Not at all. And then Kevin Love came in the game and still got rebounds. Kyle Filipowski had his 8 too. 8, 7, 6 from our shooting guard, 11 from Nurkic, 9 from Lowry. Yeah, it's just a whole lot going on there. Jazz don't want to keep her draft pick. I don't know what the team is. Absolutely no identity. Honestly, I don't. How do I put it? The reason why it didn't get called as a foul though when Keontae slipped was because when he slipped, the timing of it was like he falls and Jaylen Brown sees him fall and still says, "Yeah, I'm gonna attempt this anyways." So if it was incidental and in the moment as Jaylen Brown drives, Keontae falls simultaneously with it, then the refs probably would have called a foul just off the strength of the fact that it was in the continuation of the motion. Because it was two disjoint things, Keontae falls, Jaylen Brown then drives. It was kind of like, brother, you watch. It'd be like if I sat there and poured a milk jug on the floor of the aisle, and then you went and slipped and you saw me pour it, and then you slipped on the oil. You slipped on the milk. That's not my fault necessarily. Is it my fault because I did something to the floor? Sure, just like he fell on the floor. But you had the opportunity to change your mind, and you still went with option A, which was kind of slow on his part. But I mean, for a guy that couldn't hit a 3 and still shot 9 of them, go figure, right? Because if you take out his threes, he's 13 of 19, right? What is that as a overall percentage? Let me see. Oh wait, my calculator app's right there. 13 divided by 19. Yeah, 68.5%, right? That's basically 69%. So if he doesn't shoot any of those threes, if he just doesn't shoot any, right? Because he didn't hit any. So why did he shoot them to begin with, right? He just doesn't shoot any threes. They probably win this game. If Jaylen Brown doesn't shoot any threes, they probably win this game, despite being absolutely fried from the rebounding standpoint. It's not pretty. And honestly, I'm surprised when it was going down to the wire, we still decided to win this because this is one of those games where you can make a crucial late game mistake as a coaching staff, as a roster, whatever you want to say, and nobody's going to be like, "Oh man, they lost." Right? "Oh man, they threw the game away." Because it's the Celtics that we would have lost to, right? As one of the better teams in the league. Now, when the way I look at it and how I've seen them, yeah, because they were 3-4 before, they would have gotten to 500 if we lost. So yeah, they're 3-5 now. They're supposed to be a solid team. They're supposed to be a playoff team. But when people say, yeah, the East is weak, this is the type of roster that I look at and I'm like, yeah, I can't really make that argue. I can't argue against you, brother. You got Jaylen Brown. You got right, $300 million. You got who? You got who? You got white boy Ricky. You got the, I'm just gonna be polite and just call him bald. You got Mr. Clean with a beard, right? And the shooter from the West. And then that's it. That's it. And then there's just a bunch of guys, a bunch of dudes that you could pick up at the saloon, right? So, but at the same time, people won't sit there and be like, "Oh yeah, you lost to the Celtics, so you're something's fishy going on here," even though you kind of should, because most people don't actually dive into the metrics, don't pay attention to the players that are put out on the floor. They just sit there and say, "Oh yeah, it's the Celtics, so in theory, they should be, a good team, even without their star player." Just got back from Utah State Aggies. Ooh. So everyone somehow about to watch this Keontae George masterclass. Yeah, Keontae George put on a show, man. 9-16, 2 of 5 from 3, 11 of 13 from the free throw line, 4 assists, only 1 turnover, right? Not a huge passing night for him as far as just, getting a lot of assists. Lowry didn't shoot really well in this one. Kind of, I guess, the recoil from having him take darn near 30 shots last game. But Keontae came out in this one and executed. And you know how we usually see him shoot 1 of 5, and it's like, oh man, I'm glad he didn't shoot more threes so he would miss more threes. We look at this one and he said 2 of 5 just looks so good. 40%. It's not even because it's 40%. It's just 2 of 5. It's like you flip the 2 and it looks like a 5. It's just magical how much one extra make can do for a guy, right? I'm not even saying I need 3 out of 5, right? Just give me 2 out of 5, and it looks so nice on the stat sheet. And then he's 9-16 overall, so you can't argue with that. Double-digit free throws and above 80% shooting on him. Enough said, right? And then that 1 turnover, because I think this is the first game that he's had under 3 turnovers. It might be under 4 turnovers actually, but definitely under 3 turnovers. Where are we at? I need the game log. Nope, not per 100 possessions. I will not be doing that. All right, I'm slow. I'm not going to be able to do it. I thought my IQ was a little bit better than that, but I'm selling. Oh no, here we go. There we go. Haha. Yeah, this is 4 turnovers, 6 turnovers, 3 turnovers, 4 turnovers, 1 turnover. And correct me if I'm wrong. I think he played the most minutes in this one actually, aside from our overtime game, obviously. But yeah, definitely a great showing from him. He's kid. Listen. He's just not a top 15 guy in the league. He's one of the few guys where if I see him one-on-one with Nurkic, I'm not absolutely thinking Nurkic is getting fried, right? That's the polite way for me to put it. Knicks and Cavs are in the East, West for Warriors, Lakers, Timberwolves, Thunder, Nuggets. Yeah, you can maybe say even Clippers. Yeah, I would definitely say the Clippers. It's pretty uneven. I think it's time we do away with the conferences as a whole, right? And I toyed with the idea before because in Japan, for example, they have the B League, which is their like thing that they started up. I think it's official as of 2018, 2019 season was like their inaugural years. But they have 3 tiers. They have a B1, B2, B3. And the bottom 2 or bottom 4 teams at the end of the season have to duke it out with the top 2 or top 4 teams in the B League, which is like, I guess if we were looking at this in NCAA terms, it would be, you know, the worst teams in D1 ball play the top teams in D2 ball. And if the bottom teams in D1 lose out to those top teams, they switch places. And a lot of guys, you don't want to lose that, right? We'll lose because we like tanking and we like draft picks, but we don't like losing when it means we lose our media rights. Contracts start getting shuffled around and we don't have the money to play with that we just had. That's when it starts getting serious. But I thought about that idea, kind of like if we want to increase the game and you don't necessarily want to dilute the league, for example, right? Just make a B League version of the NBA, right? And if you want to say it's the G League, okay, cool. But you either add some more teams, right? Or add an extra step down from that. I think that you should have an intermediary between the G League and the NBA. That's kind of like the B tier, like the feeder almost into the NBA, right? The G League stays for development. It's young guys working, maybe some old guys or some guys fresh off injuries that should be career ending, but they're trying to prove, hey, I can still hoop. But create like a little intermediary sector. Either make 2 to 4 more teams. I would say 4, right? To add in more talent, dilute the talent just a little bit, or just create a little medium, even if it's 10 teams, right? Let's make 10 new teams. It's a separate thing. The teams that end up at the bottom of the draft boards, and of course the draft would have to change overall, but like teams at the bottom 2 teams, right? Bottom 2 teams in the West and the East. I think we should just get rid of the conference overall. But let's say they just keep it and they just add in 10, G League NBA affiliate type teams right there in between both of them. Have the teams that sat there and wanted to tank out the year play the B League, play the next tier teams. And if they lose out those games, you lose out on some media rights money, right? So now the owners care more about how their team performs. And then on top of that, you also lose the right to that first, second, or whatever that top 5 pick that you would have had. And instead, the squad that just waxed your behind ends up getting it. Because clearly, if you are at the bottom of the barrel for the best league, right, in the world, allegedly, and you can't beat guys that CBA slightly above G League, why would we want to guys that are coming into the league? Why would we want you to have a top 5 pick? Your ass. You can't win. You can't win games against. I don't want to say people that are at the bottom of the barrel, but less than apt squads. And you want that first pick. It just doesn't really make sense. But it's all hypotheticals. It's not going to happen. A man can dream, right? A man can dream, just like we could dream about the Jazz getting a first overall pick. But yeah, Isaiah Collier still out, or this time I think he wasn't on the injury report, was he? Yeah, he wasn't on the injury report. This is his first game not being on the injury report, but still not playing. Slow-mo didn't get minutes today. Bryce didn't play at all, which I found curious. I want to know what's going on there. And then Williams didn't have minutes. They just filtered them all to Elijah Harkless, which was curious. Let's see. But there weren't too many interesting things that I saw come out. Nuggets beat the Kings, Pistons beat the Grizzlies, Rockets beat the Mavericks. We'll look at that just for a second. Knicks beat the Wizards. Bucks beat the Pacers. Timberwolves beat the Nets. And then you have the Heat going at it with the Clippers and the Lakers going at it with the Trailblazers, who are currently giving them a little bit of an issue there. Let me see. Just for comedic effect, I need something to laugh at. Give me something. Oh, dang, y'all got the 20 piece by Dante DiVincenzo. Dante DiVincenzo, Nas Reed, McDaniels. They said we don't even need Ant to handle you. Hold this L. Golly. They didn't have Michael Porter Jr. That's part of it. Cam Thomas, only 25? 24 shots for 25 points. Noah Clowney. Yeah, this roster is just. I'm glad I don't cover these guys. What's good, Logic? That's all I can be thankful for. That's enough for me. I'm not a Brooklyn Nets fan. I would hate to be a Brooklyn Nets fan. I might, just put myself down. Klay Thompson still being not the Klay Thompson I know. What happened to our GOATs? It might be time for him to see the bench. I'm not going to lie. PJ Washington, 11 of 20. Holy. Daniel Gafford, 7 of 9. Coop, 5 of 10, 2 of 5 from 3. Okay. Calm 12-point game. Max Christie, 6 of 10, 3 of 6. Okay. D-Lo. That's not a good game for you, brother. KD was not efficient today. Holy cow. 27, 5, and 4. Steven Adams off the bench. Oh, Capella's back there. Huh. Who would have thought? Again, he averaged double figures now. I hope he recovers this. This is bad. This is embarrassing. This is so embarrassing, dude. Bro, 40% on every year of his career. That's insane. And then this. Yeah, he'll get back. I'm sure he'll get back too. Now, where's Kevin Durant at? Okay, yeah, this is just a random blip in his game today. Yeah, because he's still shooting pretty well overall. But yeah, nothing too crazy. Pelicans and Nets both still winless. Yeah, the Pelicans being winless kind of caught me by surprise. But then when I look at them and the fact that they didn't have a center that was like really reliable, it made a lot of sense. The Nets being winless doesn't surprise me though. The Nets are the worst team in the NBA right now. They by far. The Washington people are sleeping on the Wizards. The Wizards are low key respectable now. They have the pieces. They're just young. The Trailblazers are low key respectable now too. The Pelicans shouldn't be as hot dog water as they are right now, but the Nets are by far like the worst team in the league. Like if I broke both of Larry Markkanen's legs, then went Walker Kessler, then went Taylor Hendricks, then went Keontae George. Who else is good on our team? Well, let's keep going down the list, right? No Lowry, no Taylor, no Keontae. Yeah, that's basically everybody that matters. I slime out Bryson Sabatu, and we start Cody Williams, Isaiah Collier from last year, the one that can't shoot threes worth a lick. Elijah Harkless, Svi, and Nurk, right? Those are our guys. We would be comparable to the Nets, right? You said our situation stinks. Imagine the Pelicans. Now that might be what it feels like to go through. Yeah, the Pelicans are in the weirdest thing ever because it's like you can tell they don't want to tank. You can tell they want to win games, but they just can't win games. The way their roster construction is just so bad. Their general manager is terrible. Like they need to let that guy go. What did he say? You have to adjust to the fact that we've had some of our best interior defenders in the game, and Walker Kessler, then Carl Johnny Broome, but we don't have those guys now. What is he? Oh, this is the most random post ever. I thought this was related to us. We have what? Pistons on Wednesday, Timberwolves on Friday, Timberwolves again on Monday. So we'll probably, if Walker Kessler's not back, we probably will end up dropping this game against the Pistons. If he is back, you could make the argument that we win this game. But no Walker Kessler, I don't think that the Pistons let us off easy. They're definitely more well-rounded, even when Cade Cunningham is not on the floor, than the Celtics are without Jason Tatum. So they just had a guy too, just didn't get strict enough early with Zion or mismanagement and everything. Yeah, it's just bad. At least the Pelicans can win a lottery. Hey, they won the lottery and didn't know what to do with it. I wonder if they even believe that they could win the lottery. That's the bigger picture right there. But we are right back to what overall usually enjoy. Honestly, I'm trying to hold off on my Ace Bailey takes until we're like 20 games into the season, because I'm thinking we're going to see more of him after All-Star break. But I want to see something new. I want to see something fresh. I want to see like just a little bit of a sprinkling. He says, so hypothetical, which player on the Pelicans roster would you offer salvation like Dyson Daniels to Atlanta? Ooh, Trey Murphy's a great pick. I would definitely take Trey Murphy off their hands. Hold on a second. Let me look real quick. New Orleans Pelicans. Let me pick a random game. We'll pick the most recent one where they got blown out by the Thunder. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it would have to be Trey Murphy, because I was thinking between him and maybe Jeremiah Fears. But with the way Keontae's playing, I don't really need a younger, Jeremiah Fears. Herb Jones is a reliable guy, but at the same time, nah, Trey Murphy. Yeah, Trey Murphy by a mile. Defensively, he's effective. Offensively, he's effective. I mean, so far this season, he's got 14 and a half, 6.5 boards, and 3.5 assists. Now, overall, let me see what his numbers. All right, so they've had 6 games. He did have one really bad game against the Nuggets. He was 1 of 7. But aside from that, he hasn't had too many terrible games. And his past 2 games have been really solid. 6 of 14, 5 of 10 from 3, 7 of 13 from the field, 5 of 10 from 3 again. 5 boards mixed in there. And these were both in 32, 34 minutes of action. It was solid. Yeah, definitely Trey Murphy. He doesn't deserve that. If we had him, we would do so much better, right? I mean, we still tank this year, but still do so much better. Nevertheless. But yeah, that concludes my segment for the day. I didn't have anything, groundbreaking or crazy to talk about for us today. But yeah, interesting when we move up to 3 and 4. We're supposed to be tanking, but it's getting the methods at which we will use to tank are becoming interesting to think about. We'll have to see what exactly comes of everything as time progresses. But, as I always say, good morning, good evening, and good night, no matter where you're on the globe watching. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't, like the video, turn on post notifications, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.